Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Please welcome my guest, John Cho. Wait for the audience to die down. Thanks for being here, John. I really appreciate it.
No, it's an honor. For those who don't know, I highly look up to this gentleman here, his work ethic, his drive, his constant hustle. And it's admirable and respectable. So it's an absolute honor.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm happy to have you on the show. I think we kind of talked about this, but I'm going through the list of all of my friends from college who had an impact on me and I had spent a lot of time with. So, like my Cabo Modern friends, my Irmo friends. So it was nice to have you on. Definitely thought of you as likewise. I think I echo that. Like you've always been a hard worker, very disciplined, and we'll go into your journey a little bit here, which I think would be a great story for the audience. But let me just start off with how I know you. So we met on the dance team Irmo, and like I think we started to hang out a lot more in third gen. You were not on second gen, right?
Not on second gen.
Yeah, but I think we had known each other because we both did Casa Dance Off, which is like a at our school UCI. There's like this competition. Well, I went in with Jessica's episode,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so yeah, I had did it the year before you, and then we met when you were first year, and then we eventually danced on Irmo, and then projects like Dreams Legacy and yeah Casa, and we hung out a lot. That was back in the day when Irmo was well, okay. This earlier years of Irmo was very post Casa, like a lot of party. Like my first
Lots of
my
party.
first drinks were with Casa, right?
Mhm.
And so that's just a they drank a lot and like we partied a lot. And so a lot of that culture went to Irmo. And so the first few gens at Irmo were very like, yeah, let's go
Mhm.
hang out, stuff like that. I don't know, not to say it's not like that anymore, but from the later years to the earlier years, I think that's what I remember a lot. But regardless of that aside, John has always been good to dance with. He's a really chill dude. And like I said, a lot of fun. We have a lot of good vibes. And we haven't really caught up or like talked in a while. So that's kind of like why I'd like to have you on the show. So any clarifications? I know I basically just went into how I know you, but
Oh
like
yeah.
I know I read your bio already, so they kind of have an idea of what you're up to. But any life updates? What are you up to? Any clarifications?
Any clarifications? If anything, my first memory of you was Casa Dance Off.
Mm.
You were collabing and doing a piece, Nega Chanaga by
Oh,
21. It was a hit song that year.
with Saya?
Yeah, Saya.
Yeah,
And they scratched it.
yeah,
It was it was what was gonna put us on first place for
yeah.
that competition, and they scratched it. And it was such a disappointment because you brought that energy. I mean, your skill level in terms of the other choreographers that taught, it was night and day difference. So it was really disappointing
Mm.
when they did scratch it. So then when I did run into you on Irmo, I was like, oh my God, who is this guy? I need to get to know him. So other than that, yeah, I've been busy too. I want to say the past 10 years, I've been in the military the whole time, 10 years, still going. Bought a house recently,
Yeah,
proud
congrats.
new homeowner, and I've kind of been on orders. The orders changed ever since being part of the Army National Guard. You react to natural disasters or emergencies, so COVID, protests. And as of late, I've been working with the Counter Drug Task Force in California.
Mm.
It's the war on drugs, and I've been a part of that past year.
Nice. Yeah. Sorry, just take a step back. We've known each other for like what, at least 12 years, right?
12 years
At least.
plus.
Plus, right?
2011.
2011. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Whatever that
14.
math is,
14.
14-ish.
14.
Yeah, it's a new year, right? But I want to go into, as we normally do, is like your origin story, main influences, and life aspirations. But since you just mentioned, you said National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that like? Like, is that a full-time thing? Is that
Mm-hmm.
part-time or like what is the? And then you said like your different roles and on orders. Could
Mm-hmm.
you walk us through that?
Yeah, so if you think of the military, you're like, oh, you're either in or you're out. I break it down into your active duty, your reserve, and then there's National Guard. Active duty is a full time job. You're on orders Monday through even Sunday, right? But really, Monday through Friday, they try to give you the weekends off. But your missions can vary whether you're in state or overseas. Reserve means you just drill 1 week in a month. You're a soldier, but 1 week in a month, right? Same thing with the National Guard. However, the National Guard, every state has one, but they will react to any emergencies, state emergencies, or there's countries that do need help, like let's say Mexico or Japan. lots of earthquakes or tsunamis, we send soldiers. Same thing with the Capitol riots that happened in 2020. I got sent there for about 3 months. All the National Guards from all over the country went over. They had like 30,000 National Guard soldiers chilling out there.
Okay. So then you said active and reserve, but then so you said National Guard. So what is that commitment level? I don't know.
The commitment level is similar to the reserves.
Okay.
However, because there's so many opportunities to, let's say, other missions, you can hop on kind of whatever missions you want. But that also is dictated by the type of MOS, job title, or how much you want to commit to it. So it gives you the option to have a civilian life. But if you want a full-time gig or something sounds interesting, you can say, hey, I want to be on these orders. And those orders transition you to being an active duty service member.
Okay. So it's like a flexible, almost in between.
Very flexible.
So then you decide your hours.
For the most part, you decide it, but
Yeah.
state emergency, natural.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can choose.
So then as reserve, it's kind of like as needed, flexible basis. But if they're like, okay, we need all hands on deck for X amount of time,
They'll call you up.
Okay, you're called. Okay, so you're kind of like
On
committed on call.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting. So then, what is your like? Do you do other things outside, like full time
Oh
career?
yeah.
I know it can. Maybe it's hard because, like you said, it can vary. But I don't
Definitely varied. It pays well for the time that you do get activated, especially compared to, let's say, right after college. Like, no one's getting hired. You're working a server job. So when you have a consistent stability and a constant check coming in, it's good pay, right? My initial job is a 35 mic, which is human intelligence. Pretty much, I'm an interrogator, right? But I can't necessarily do that job here in the States because we don't interrogate civilians, U.S. citizens.
Like, on,
that's not my job. That's FBI,
Gotcha.
and detectives, police officers. That's their job.
that we know of. Yeah.
My job is to do it overseas.
Yeah, overseas. Gotcha. Okay.
But I realized that was a very dangerous job at the same time because essentially my job is to get information from people, whether it's they're going to provide it to me or I have to incentivize them to give it to me, right? Through legal methods, right?
Disclaimer. Thanks, man.
I don't know. We went under a lot of scrutiny because, there's different techniques to go on it, which is definitely frowned upon and now illegal, right? So that job was very difficult and dangerous. So I said, hey, I need to kind of switch it up. But then a lot of opportunities did come in stateside, like right out in Los Alamitos. There's a base there. And they had full-time orders working with drones, drones that are being flown all over the world, but I'm in the States. So it's like really cool. I can't go into that much detail.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
I did that for about 2 years, and then I said, that's not going to take me anywhere either. I need to progress. I need to do a career change. I'm looking at different intel positions. And then a buddy of mine reached out and said, hey, do you want to be a part of the counter-drug task force? And I said, okay, I've heard of it. It sounds like a fallback gig. I would initially be doing more analytical work, which is build a targeting packet against high-value targets for, let's say, it's usually cartel members or gang leaders, and then build a packet, submit it, and then we sometimes get to hop in because it's a task force combined with DEA, FBI, local law enforcement, Border Patrol. We all work together because working individually, it's not a. I say this carefully, but it's easier to work together, share information. Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. I didn't expect to talk about this.
Yeah, I know.
And if we need to cut any of this, just let me know. But because like my last year in school, I took a couple intelligence classes, and I thought it was fascinating. I'm like, oh, that'd be super cool to work in intelligence and work with like international relations or in the government or something like that. And I also took several gangs classes, like
Hmm.
international gangs or criminal
Transnational
gangs,
games.
transnational
Yeah.
gangs, stuff like that. Like I thought those are such fascinating classes. So
Mhm.
now that you're saying all this, I'm like, it's bringing me back, and I'm like, man,
Yeah,
these
yeah.
classes are super interesting. Um, I wanted to ask, like, how did you fall into these? So you're saying that, if I'm getting this correctly, that some of these could be full-time orders, and then you could kind of change around and see what's available, and you
Hmm.
kind of just do that as like it's its own company, so to speak,
Pretty
and you can
much.
like move jobs.
Hmm.
But then I wonder, how did you get into that initially? Was it like you were interested in those fields, or was it you fell into it, or how did that progress?
I think it started off. Didn't know what to do during college.
Mhm.
Started off as a civil engineer, was doing CASA,
Mhm.
was also
Dancing.
yeah dancing,
Yeah.
and also part of the ROTC program.
Hmm.
But taking on all three kind of aspirations,
Yeah.
I pretty much failed. My freshman year, all my classes all fails. Um, second year, all fails. They kept me on third year,
Yeah.
and I didn't prioritize my life at the time because I said I want to do it all. I
Yeah.
think I could do it all. So believe it or not, I was a super senior for like a couple extra years. My goal was to graduate as an officer with a degree, and still do all the things I want, like dancing at the time. But I ended up having to say, hold up, I'm messing up everything right now because the routine would be um, go to classes. All right, what's that night? Practice. And Hell Weeks can take you up to the morning. All right, it's 5 a.m. I got to go work out.
I remember those. Yeah.
Those are terrible.
You're like, yeah, I gotta work out tomorrow or do some sort of thing like RTC thing. We're like, dang man, John, you're crazy.
Yeah. So, kind of hit a bump on the road for a couple years. That's where kind of the army I joined on the enlisted side. So officers have a degree. Enlisted, you don't need a degree, and you can join the military. And then they kind of work in tandem. Every officer has like a right hand man. That right hand man is usually the enlisted sergeant.
Mm. Okay. So then at that point, you didn't know what you wanted to do, super
Hmm.
senior, and you were kind of, you joined as enlisted.
Hmm.
So then could you connect the dots between that point into like, I don't know,
Yeah,
human intelligence
yeah,
and
yeah,
also other
yeah.
stuff? Yeah, yeah.
I finished my degree.
Yeah.
And I still said I love the military. I wanted to always be a part of something bigger. My whole life was still shaped around the military because grandfather, he was a ROK commander. He's Korean, pretty much
Mm.
forces, special forces. My father was in the military. My brother was military.
I
That
didn't know that.
whole like life, that structure, was kind of really easy to fall in place, or taking orders is easy,
Yeah.
right? But then military intelligence just kind of stood out because the recruiter was like, "Hey," he listed a bunch of different jobs, and I said, "I want that one. Seems
Mm.
like they have the coolest gig. Seems like they're the most high in demand, and it still is." 'Cause-
What do you think, like, about you, your personality, or what you're good at, how your brain is wired? Do you think fit with that career trajectory?
Hmm, possibly. I mean, based on how my career started,
Mm.
I don't know. I think it was just intriguing to have different perceptions of yourself, and because I've always cared about my perception of how people view me, right? But then, oh yeah, John's uh, always going out. He's always seems like he's got his composure. I've never catch this guy drunk, like,
Mm.
and he's drinking a ton. Like, what's going on? So being able to kind of have different faces and different identities, that was always intriguing. And you do need that in the intelligence world, where especially when you're working with different sources, you have a different cover story, you have a different identity, and it's always intriguing to do.
I see. I think that makes sense because since I've known you when we were in college, you were always that guy that kind of, well, social, obviously,
Hmm.
likable, people like you, and that sort of having your stuff together, right?
Hmm.
Whether or not you think so internally or externally, like I
Hmm.
feel like your reputation or my perception of you is like, oh yeah, he's a cool dude. Like, he's reliable. He has his stuff together. He has like this sort of career trajectory. Even if in college we don't always know what we're doing,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But so I can see that. I wanted to ask about like your well, you kind of mentioned it, but if you had anything to add on to going into college, what your aspirations were, and then I guess we already kind of went over out after college, but
Mhm.
going into college, you mentioned your family was all military. You kind of had that structure and idea.
Mhm.
Was it always like that, or was there a pivot or turning point?
I think it was always like that.
Okay.
I think my whole life I've benefited off the fruits of my parents' labor,
Mm,
not my own.
mm,
Right? They're the ones that sent me through after school programs. They're the ones that said, "Hey, study." They're the ones that said, like, they gave me a real structure in my life. I wasn't the one that got the straight A's during high school or like middle school, high school. Right? School was easy because they're the ones that disciplined me and put
mm,
those good values into my life. The moment where college came into the picture, where you actually have to study, learn the material, those weren't things that were rooted because of myself, my parents. So then I went in with the mentality that I could do it all.
oh,
Everything's easy.
okay. Yeah.
I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do the other. But then I had I misplaced kind of what I can actually handle, right? And essentially my ego got in the way, saying, "No, I could still do it all." And especially when everybody's also kind of feeding into it, it's like, you can't do it.
Mm,
I want to keep up that perception.
of course.
And because of my ego getting in the way, I didn't, it took too long to reevaluate where I can actually handle. And by then it was kind of too late.
Mm, okay. The last two things, or I guess wherever we want to take this, is you're kind of already mentioning challenges because I wanted to ask you like what were some challenges of your career path
Hmm.
that you want to go into, and then the last thing to top that off is advice for others who want to follow in the same sort of career trajectory or journey.
Mm. So two career paths, I guess, when I was in the military. Um, if you have the chance, get your degree.
Mm,
Doesn't matter in what, it really doesn't matter. Get a degree, but then become an officer. You just get paid more. You get management experience because as an officer, you're in charge of a platoon, right? Which is like 30 or more people, sometimes more. So you're getting management experience. You have a degree, um, and you're getting job experience too because you're uh, in the military. So as soon as you get out or want to pursue a different path, you already have years of experience that they're gonna just hire you for over somebody who has a degree but no real world experience.
mm-hmm. Of course, that's always the as I talk with college students and go to these sort of career fairs where you give advice.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing is always that they're worried about getting a job after college, which is understandable, makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. We all have the same fear, but it's the whole catch 22 of to apply to this entry level job, you need 10 years of experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so, how do you get your experience? If you, either you make it yourself or whatever, but there's
Mm-hmm.
other ways to do it. And like you said, the military, like you get the job experience, work experience, and you get paid. I mean, it's like a career, but
Yeah.
like you're saying, get your degree first
Mm-hmm.
because that will. I'm assuming it puts you a step up that you might as well get that'll
Mm-hmm.
benefit you long
Yeah,
run, right?
definitely. I think there's also just long term payouts to be an officer
Mhm.
rather than being going the enlisted route.
Mhm.
Both, by all means, you can be very successful,
Mhm.
but just from a financial standpoint,
Yeah.
an officer will make 3 times more than
Mm.
enlisted.
I mean, 3 times is a pretty good incentive, I would
Yeah.
say, right? Just get your degree, whatever, like you
Hmm.
said. Any other last challenges or lessons or takeaways that you want to give before we switch
Oh
topics?
yeah. I mean, I learned this the hard way, right? But the way you want to make sure you aligned two ideas: the way you perceive yourself and the way others perceive you, right? And each one has its own consequences or kind of effects, but you want to make sure they align. And I think that's a very hard thing to do because some people don't even know. They think I'm a good dancer.
Of course, yeah.
Right? I'm a good dancer. And everybody's giving their
You're like,
stats.
oh, are you?
Yeah. Right. So making sure those two perceptions line up.
Mhm.
If they do line up, I think you have a good idea of your strengths and weaknesses, and you can make the adjustments quickly from there.
I like that, but how do you make them align? Like, right? Because I feel
Mhm.
like it's easy for them to not align.
Mhm.
So, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think there's many ways to go about it. I know that's a terrible answer. One is trial and error, right? One is talking, having someone to talk to. Like, hey, honest opinion.
Mm.
Tell- no
To get
shit.
yourself out of your
Can I cuss?
bubble.
Can I cuss?
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no shit. Like, tell me the truth.
Mm.
No hard feelings. Right? Being able to have that conversation. It does take a little bit of courage to do that, but I feel like for most people, they have a friend that they can rely on. So I have that honest conversation.
Okay. So what I'm getting at is outside feedback and also having the intention of trying to get those things to align,
For
because
sure.
sometimes we don't even have the intention. We're not
Mhm.
at a starting point. But you're saying that as long as you have the intention and you try to get feedback, you'll be fine.
100.
Cool. All right. Let's switch over to physical and mental discipline. I think this is fascinating. I think you're a great person to talk about with this, and I love this topic. Easy question, like how did you get into endurance sports or marathons?
Um, I've always loved working out. Did sports in high school. Again, military for the past 10 years.
5 a.m. runs after a long practice,
Long
after
practice,
sunrise practice.
after a party.
Yeah,
We were
exactly.
drinking and changed, went to go and work out. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
It's always fun to stay in shape. But over COVID, I was in a good
Same,
relationship.
bro. Same.
I was in a good relationship, and COVID, you got what is it? California checks,
Oh yeah, like the supplemental checks or
supplemental
whatever.
checks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everybody's doing good at
Everything's
that
easy.
time, right?
Yeah.
Everything's easy. So I rapidly gained I went from 160 for most of my college years
Mhm.
to 210 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah, big weight. Um,
It's like 50 pounds ish.
yeah, pretty high.
Dang,
No,
bulking season,
220,
man.
220.
Oh, 60. Oh, that's right.
60
Dang,
pounds.
bulking season, man.
Bulking
What were
season.
you eating?
Now,
What?
I was eating, drinking, and playing games.
Gotcha,
Right.
gotcha.
Um, and also when you're in a good relationship, like
Of
you're
course,
happy.
complacent. Yeah, you're like, well, I don't need to work for
But I
anything.
think because that complacency also had its own downfall, which is I didn't put back into the relationship. Right. I didn't focus on what I needed to fix.
Mhm.
And one thing after another, it just kind of fell apart. So right after that, I kind of wanted to got broke up. Right.
Mhm.
Wanted to get my villain arc going because of that breakup.
Mhm.
Um, and then
Wait, why is it a villain arc? I'm curious.
okay,
I
so
like the phrasing, but what does that mean?
it means I'm gonna show this person what they're
Gotcha.
missing.
Okay.
Right?
It's not a hero's arc. I'm
It's a
gonna
villain.
prove someone wrong.
Prove someone wrong.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I still wanted to get back into that relationship, but what happened was I know there's still so many toxic things about it, but really it was just getting back at the person.
Mhm.
Um, and then I was still in contact with their friends who were doing a marathon. They said, "Go on." I said that kind of triggered something. And said, "I'm not giving up on this."
Mhm.
And if I were to ever give anybody advice on true motivation, is fall in love, fall in love, date for a good year or two, and then have them break your heart. And for sure, that will fuel you
Yeah.
till like the change that you want. And that first marathon, I lost 40 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so many things I want to ask, but what was the first off? What was the like training regimen for a marathon? I always wanted to ask someone who does endurance sports,
Mm-hmm.
like, how does someone train for a marathon?
Ooh. Anticipate to run anywhere from 40 to 70 miles a week. Yeah.
So is that like, how do you space that out? Like, what's the recovery?
Yeah.
Is it like, is it 30 in one day and then you
Yeah,
break
yeah,
and then
yeah.
10, or like what is?
I think it starts off easy, right? Because if I told anybody to run 10 miles right now,
Yeah.
they'd probably be broken for the next 3, 4 days.
Right, right.
So that's not effective or that's not efficient. So I would say, hey, your goal this week is to run 10 miles this week. However you break it up, that's up to you. And I don't care about speed. I don't care if you stack 5, 5, and that's it. Two runs a week. I don't care how you do it. Just 10 miles, your own pace. And it should be conversational. Like, you and I should be able to have a conversation while running. If I'm
Oh, you mean like intensity wise?
intensity
Gotcha,
wise,
gotcha.
we can have a conversation. I'm not heavy breathing, and I'm finishing it.
Is that like zone 2 or something like that? Do you
Zone
know?
one, zone two.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
That's the conversational pace.
Right.
Zone one might be like you're going on a brisk walk.
Gotcha. Okay.
Zone two, um, and it's just telling your body like get comfortable with this,
Mm.
and then each week as a progression, adding maybe a mile, 2 miles. But this is where I learned that you actually have to plan for about 4 to 5 months. Let's say you want to run a marathon,
Mhm,
you should be planning 4 to 5 months out.
Okay. So get the volume in, no matter how you do it, and then each week or whatever, you're
Mhm.
progressively overloading with that volume.
Mhm.
And you said 4 to 5 months. Is there like a target goal by the end of that 4 to 5 months of like how much you can run for the week? Like, is that 60
Correct.
the target?
Yeah. So let's say the first month,
Mhm.
10 to 20 miles.
Okay.
And eventually that will increase to in the 30, 40 range.
Yeah.
In the 2 to 3 months after that first month is where you're hitting 40 to 70 miles. It changes per person and kind of what your target goal is. Because some people are trying to get record breaking time.
Right, like time speed.
Right. And when it comes to a marathon, for those that don't know, it's 26.1 miles, right? That doesn't matter how much of an expert you are at marathons, it always takes a toll on your body, no matter how athletic you are. So the careful approach is letting your body get accustomed to it and keeping that heart rate very, very low. So that's why I don't care about your speed. I care more about can you get through it. And I say to most people, if you can spend a day at Disneyland walking around, you can do a marathon. That's kind of the analogy I get. If you can do that.
Why keep your heart rate low? What does that mean?
If you have a high heart rate, you're burning more fuel, more calories.
Oh, I see. So you're being trying to be more efficient with your fuel.
Very efficient.
Gotcha.
Right? If I slam on that brake or I slam on that gas pedal, you're going to see that gas meter go down, right? You want to cruise as much as you can. What's that optimal speed where you're getting the most miles per gallon?
I never thought about that. It's fascinating. What about recovery? Tips or things on recovery? Because that's another thing I'm thinking about. Obviously, if you guys don't know, like the other half of any sort of performance is the recovery, and I'm assuming that's important with this training. So, any thoughts?
I think one of the hardest things is, especially in our generation, it's what do you call it? Pain is weakness leaving the body.
Okay.
Right? We hear that often, and we say, "Hey, just push it,
Power through. Yeah.
power through." No, if you feel pain, that's your body's giving you a literal signal. Stop. Right? Recover. Rest. Do what you need to do. Things should be done carefully. But also sleep a lot. I think people do sleep a lot, but it's inconsistent, right? They crash on the weekends, but the weekdays they're pushing anywhere from like 5 to 6 hours, right? I'd rather have you have a consistent 7 hours every day. Some people say 8, 9, but 7 hours consistently so that your body is in a routine and it goes under a routine.
It's like a regular routine. I see.
Sleep.
Okay, so sleep. Sorry.
Take it easy.
Taking it easy.
Believe it or not, you can eat whatever you want if you start running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're going through your fuel fast, like consistently. What do you mean? So I want to touch on pain, and I know there's different types of pain.
Sure.
There's like acute, and then there's soreness pain. And does that matter, or like what do you mean by like? Do you want to get into
I guess so. Soreness pain is okay, but soreness doesn't equate to
like progress?
progress.
Right.
It's just you haven't used your body.
Right. The lactic acid,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
You're just sore. So soreness is okay, but as soon as like, oh, let's say there's my ankles hurting, knees hurting, that's your body telling you you're weak at somewhere, right? So definitely rest, but there's two things I say: motion is lotion. So we used to have this old saying, which is raise, ice, compress, elevate.
Yeah.
Right? It's a normal first aid technique whenever you sprain an ankle or something. It's actually outdated, very outdated.
Okay.
It's you can ice it to lower the inflammation, but actually motion is lotion. As soon as you start swelling up from a sprained wrist or an ankle, you actually want to do your best to get blood flowing back into it, recover, and it'll start reducing the inflammation because blood is coming back into it. And then secondly is strengthening. There's a guy I follow, knees over toes guy. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Mm.
He's gone through multiple knee surgeries, multiple injuries. Doctors told him, you're not going to be able to play sports again. Don't jump, etc. He kind of reverse engineered of how we thought, which is, I don't know, hard to go into it, but he focuses more on working on the areas we don't think about. So when we work out, we think of running forward, pushing things. When we squat, we're lifting things. But what about the opposite movement? Running backwards, walking backwards, lifting our leg up. What machine do you know that you put weight and you lift your leg up?
So like the neglected motions.
And neglected motions.
Yeah.
So he's saying, hey, the reason you can't do a split isn't because you're not mobile. It's because the muscles that support that are in the inner thighs is so weak, it goes into a shock mode and it freezes and says,
I see.
You
It
can't
doesn't
do
feel
this.
safe in that
It
range.
doesn't feel safe.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's about strengthening the areas that you're weak on. So when you have pain, don't think, oh, something's wrong. Think of something in my body saying, I'm weak at this. How do I strengthen it? So
I like that. So you mentioned knees over toes. I'm selfishly curious about, like, we get the volume in the training towards a marathon. Do you have any and recovery? But the strengthening part is what I'm curious about, because I imagine, as someone who wants to go into endurance sports and then like, oh no, I'm going to start feeling the pain in certain areas. And I know there are accounts and creators who talk about a lot about like health and mobility and to help with like those sort of sports of, you need to focus on hip strength or range of motion or knee strength and stuff like that. Do you have any resources or tips on how to prepare to get your body ready for those sort of things?
I'm very careful when I try to give advice, because just because it worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, right? And there's also so much content out there. Where do I begin?
Yeah.
I focus more on just get started and be consistent. There's a quote I live by, right? Dreams without goals are just dreams, and ultimately they fuel disappointment. But on the way to achieving your dreams, you must apply discipline, but more importantly, consistency. Because without commitment, you'll never start, but without consistency, you'll never finish. A lot of people are motivated, they make the decision, I could do this, but then give it 2 weeks, they stop. So I care more about your consistency, right? So just get to the gym, keep it consistent, or make sure you're running 3 times a week for about a month, right? 3 months. Trust me, you're going to figure ways out on how to improve it. But most people don't even get to that part yet. So that's my I guess, one tip.
Yeah, no, I like that. You're saying like it's 80-20. If you get started, be consistent, you're pretty much most of the way there. You'll find the resources that get you to that next level because you're already in motion. I get that. So thank you. All right. If you have nothing else on that topic, I want to switch to now motivation, integrity, prioritization, etc. So could you explain what motivation means to you, and how does one achieve motivation without emotion?
So I kind of tapped into it, right? Everybody can be committed. Oh man, right? Go through a heartbreak. I'm gonna do things different, right? Something traumatic happens in your life, and you say, I'm gonna do things different. It's most people's motivation is emotional. In the moment, I'm gonna make a change. But for the most part, most of our emotions are very fleeting, or they fluctuate. Right? One day you're mad at your significant other, next day you're madly in love, right? So I don't think it should be grounded on emotion, even though it could be a good driving factor.
Or like a catalyst.
Right? I think it has to be rooted more on consistency, right? Think of not a 1 month plan. What is my 1 year plan? What is my 5 year plan? What does it take to get there? So
how does one get to, okay, emotion, cool, let's move on to that. Let's do like consistency, action, habit, whatever. How does one get to that? You have any thoughts on that? What's worked for you besides multiple heartbreaks? I don't
Multiple.
know.
I'm just kidding.
Every week get a heartbreak and
Yeah.
you'll keep going.
I think the easiest one for me is have a friend. Have a friend who's doing better than you, because they're going to be your driving. They're going to keep you accountable. Going with a significant other, or um, I think even changing the rhetoric. This kind of has to do with um, how I function in life right now too. It was my mentor who taught me how to change my rhetoric. So a lot of people say, "I'm trying, I'm trying to eat healthy." No, say, "I am eating healthy." I'm trying to work out. No, I am working out. You're shifting or recalibrating your mindset to line up again, saying, "I am doing this," and guarantee your mind muscle connection will actually somehow flip a switch. You'll get on track.
hmm It's kind of like speaking into the present tense rather than the maybe future tense. And you're saying, yeah, I'm currently doing this. And it's identity change too, right?
Mhm.
Like what you're saying is, I'm not someone who's trying to work out. I'm like, no, I'm like I'm a gym rat. I go consistently.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you already
yeah.
made a decision. What you're saying reminds me of this podcast I listened to last week at the gym, which
Mhm.
was Jay Shetty on Purpose with Tony Robbins.
Mhm.
And they're both huge inspirations for me. But what Tony Robbins says is like three parts to any sort of life change.
Mhm.
Is step one is decision, which is like you're saying emotion, heartbreak, whatever. Sure, I made the decision, but that's not where it ends. Second is the commitment. So now
Mhm.
you're putting in the accountability, the structure in place where you're saying, I'm going to do these things.
Mhm.
And the third part is resolve, is you already know in your brain that it's done.
Mhm.
And therefore there's no decision, there's no not going to the gym, there's no whatever. It's like it's already decided that I'm going to be in shape
Mhm.
and there's no going back to it. So that at that point, for me in my brain, it's easier because now I don't have to think about willpower of going to the gym. Like, no, it's already done. Like it's in my schedule, it's in my
Mhm.
commitment. I'm a person who goes to the gym.
Yeah.
So everything is aligned. I know it's easier said than done for people who are thinking like, okay, yeah, John like goes to work and like Jared, like you'll go to the gym all the time. But I think like you're saying, the rhetoric change, the flipping your internal script.
Mhm.
If you approach it in that sense of try to get to the point where you can be resolved of like, no, this is where I'm going.
Mhm.
That is at least a good start in that direction.
Because on the flip side of
Yep.
it, you say, "I am doing this. I am eating healthy." And when you go home and you're not, you're wrestling with
Yeah, the cognitive dissonance of like
Yeah.
these two things don't align.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good start.
Yeah, I love that. Let's see. What are some important examples of practicing what you preach and how can we apply this in our lives?
Mm. Same thing that I said before. I don't like giving advice. Just I might have good intentions behind it, but just again, because it worked for me, it doesn't mean it's gonna work for somebody else. So I'm never gonna tell somebody to do something that I would not do myself. I learned this very easily in the military too, because there are a lot of bad leaders out there, and they say do this, do that. It's like, why would I give respect to a person that doesn't seem like they would get my back
Mm.
or have their best my, uh, my best intentions in mind, right? So
And not leading by example.
not leading by example. So um, if I'm gonna tell you to run 10 miles, that means I really mean it, and I'm gonna run those 10 miles with you. If you want to really run a marathon, I tell every one of my friends, I will build you a workout plan, no problem. I just need you to stay committed because I will help you stay committed. Guess I'm gonna stand by it. So I think it's just be careful. A lot of people give out good advice, but don't think about the consequences behind it.
Yeah, I like that. I think the same way in the sense of, and maybe it's a little bit on the toxic edge of, I try to be a person who listens to feedback and,
Mhm.
respect the sources of where it's coming from. But in my head, there's also this filter of
Mhm.
if I look at the person and let's say they're giving me advice on, let's say working out,
Mhm.
and let's say they've never been to a gym ever before, right? Of course, my brain is going to turn off and be like, okay, thanks for the advice.
Yeah.
But like, why? My brain is like, why would I listen to you?
Mhm.
You don't practice anything that you preach. And so that's how I filter out those sources. Again, this whole podcast is about you have something to learn from somebody,
Sure.
right? And it's everyone's own experience. But I totally agree with your saying is try to listen to the right advice and lead by example, especially if it's just in your own life.
Mhm.
Maybe you don't give advice, but if you show with your actions of what you do, people would be more influenced by that than
Oh,
just
for
like
sure.
empty words,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Um, what do you think people get wrong about prioritization and how can one more effectively prioritize?
Ooh. This one's a tough one for me. I learned it the hard way as well. I'm totally OCD. There's a quote, right? Paralysis by analysis, right? I do such a good job of trying to create the most perfect, optimized plan. I spend more time planning than actually doing the task, right?
That works out, right?
Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
I get it, right? Especially when you're at your desk, you have tons of work, your room's a little messy, you still have other things to do for the rest of the day. So I spend 20 minutes cleaning up my desk,
Mm.
getting the right conditions, right? But I spend so much time just trying to get into the perfect condition, but instead, and I feel accomplished too. Oh, I did this.
I did something. Yeah,
I did
it's done.
something.
Yeah.
And then I say, I'm gonna take a 5-minute YouTube break.
You deserved it. You deserved
I
it, man.
deserved it, right? So many people are good at trying to find the most optimized plan instead of just doing. So when it comes to prioritizations, a good plan is for sure it has its own benefits, but sometimes you just need to start with what's in front of you. Tackle one thing at a time rather than trying to streamline it.
Okay. Okay, so that makes sense for getting something done. But
Mhm.
now how do you prioritize?
Mm.
Meaning like what is important to
Sure.
start on?
Yeah. Again, when you're got a list of 1 through 100, just pick one. Doesn't matter.
Okay,
right?
so you're saying prioritize, just do something.
Just do something.
Gotcha.
That's one avenue. In terms of how do I say what's more important than the other, I think you just take a step back and think about where are you trying to get in life. For me, especially when it comes to, oh, man, I'm trying to be a good boyfriend, future husband. I'm trying to get the right career. I'm trying to buy a house, which I did, right? Just focus on one thing in particular, whether it's the thing you love or it's the most important thing to you, right? Everything else will naturally, I believe, fall in place because the discipline you put into one will have a trickling effect on everything else, right? So you stay committed. For me, it was marathon running at the time. I'm going to wake up. I have to wake up. Running 40, 50 miles a week, you're putting in 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes in a day just running. I have to wake up earlier, waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. every day to go run. Now I'm fresh, awake. I'm at 7 a.m. I can review what I need to about my emails, etc. Everything else just fell into place because I was so concentrated on one task. Make sense? So pick one that's you're passionate about, or whether that's the most important thing to you. I think everything else will fall into place.
Okay, I like that. So it's forward momentum, and it's getting something done and making progress, and that will a rising tide that lifts all ships. It'll get you in the right direction for other things as well. Because at least now you're a person who gets stuff done, who progresses, who grows. And with your saying of prioritization, if you take a step back and look at what's important to you in your life, and if you have an idea of those like main pillars of, okay, this is what's important to me, then it's easier to orient your compass in the right direction.
Yeah, because again, this is just from me learning from my past mistakes. I wanted to do it all, right? And you end up creating a list of things to do for each avenue of life, and then you just get nothing done. You get stuck. So instead, pick one, do the best in it, guarantee the other aspects will fall in place.
I like that. It's very simple. It's like, hey, I know there's a lot of ways you can be effective and efficient, but what John is saying is like, just pick one, do it, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Which I totally agree with.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, don't overthink too much. Okay, so my last question in this topic, and then we can circle back on anything, any other thoughts you have left over. But quotes that you live by. I know we kind of touched on that. You give a lot of really good quotes.
Yeah,
I don't know if you even know which one I'm talking about, but do you have a quote that you live by?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. I throw out quotes. Those two ones were pretty important to me. I think one quote I definitely do live by is, oh man, I'm blanking out.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Two, yeah. One is God punishes you by giving you everything you ever wanted and just watches to see how you will handle it. Right? That's just one.
Yeah, I like that. Do you have an example of like in the real world? Like, can you give us like some sort of context?
It's hard. I think it's individualistic, but gives me the right opportunity, maybe let's say the right girl, right financial security, right? Gives you everything. But a couple things that can happen. One, you don't do right by what was given to you by the person, or you don't spend that money wisely. It was handed to you, and now you kind of ruined it, right? So I think God really, sidebar, but God really does want you to have the happiest life. I think that's his truest intention, right? But one of the things as a Christian, I believe, is that God wants to be at the center of it. And as we get older, or as I get older, I realize life becomes more and more empty without God in it. So.
It reminds me of that parable, and I'm not good at quoting the Bible, but that one story of like the talons or something, where it was like that employer, master, or whatever, gave like his servants like gold talons or something, and then one of them like put in the ground, one of them wasted, and one of them reinvested or something like that, right? Yeah. And the parable was to emphasize the point of like what God gives you and what you do with it is very important. Like if you just waste it or squander your own personal talents that people give you or that God gives you and your abilities, and you won't, there's no fruit that comes from that. But when you invest it and you really cultivate what you've been given, it you get more out of it, right? Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that.
And he rewards you for it.
Of course.
He rewards you even more.
Was there another quote? Sorry.
There's another quote. A lot of people wait for the perfect conditions to start, but don't realize that starting is the perfect condition. And same thing, this kind of common theme of this podcast today, but just start. A lot of people get stuck trying to make the perfect plan. Oh, I'm gonna wait till I feel good. I'm gonna wait till I get my job first. Like, no, start now.
Yeah, I like that because it's the emotion follows action. When people think it's the reverse, people think action follows emotion, and it's kind of like that saying of you can act into an emotion, but you can't emotion into an action. Sort of. Well, I mean, you can, but you know what I mean. Like it's more effective to just do the thing that you feel like until you feel like doing it. Because if you only ran when you felt like running, you probably would never run. Exactly. The other quote that now reminds me of you after talking to you is that whole you don't rise to the level of your aspirations, but you fall to the level of your training. Right? I'm probably butchering it, but you know that one is where it's. I totally agree with that. It's like the systems and the structures in place that make more sense than like, oh, I aspire to do all these sort of things. Like just do it and put the systems in place. All right. So did we leave anything out, or are you ready to go to rapid fire questions? We might circle back on some of them, but
we had a lot for sure. But let's move on.
Yeah, I was the last thing I wanted to say was like the whole villain arc and like those memes of the best motivational like not workout, but what was it? Maybe it was a list like how to get into shape, and it was like like go to sleep early, have a routine, get heartbroken, and it's like a whole video of like him getting heartbroken. Like, damn, it's so hard. I think anyone can relate to that.
But no, even that one, that's where I learned where emotions or motivation based on emotions is fleeting. I started off just with so much hatred, so much anger. I don't need a pre-workout. I don't need coffee. I'm at the gym because I'm so angry at this person. But then 2 months in of doing that, I wasn't doing that for that. I was doing it like really impressed of how I was feeling. My clothes fit better. I felt better. My routine was on perfect schedule. So the motivation changed, right? So I learned that.
Yeah, and it became a part of you, your routine, your habit. I have a gym buddy who I go to work out with, and he's kind of sporadic, right? Like sometimes he feels like, sometimes he doesn't. And I'm like, I'm always gonna go. So if you want to come, my schedule is consistent. But he's like, yeah, I feel like really, I had a rough week this week, so now I'm gonna work out. And I'm like, dude, I have no emotion when I go to the gym. Like, this is just what I do. And he's a great friend. I love him, but it's more of like I was trying to tell him the whole thing you're saying, which is that. Try to get to the point where it's not emotion, because you can't rely on emotion to get to the gym. But if you have a routine and like you don't feel like you need to prove anything, it's more sustainable fuel.
100%.
Cool. All right, let's go into rapid fire then. First question, billboard question. If you can put up a sign for millions of people to see, non-commercial, metaphorical, what
Mhm.
would it say?
Yeah, I think same thing about that quote I live by. Right, a lot of people wait for the perfect conditions, but don't realize that the perfect conditions is just starting. Right, I live by it, love it, preach it, breathe it, live it.
Yeah. Quick tangent. Do you like what's your personality type? Are you more the analytical sort of type or
Very analytical.
yeah, I mean, making an assumption, but because some people are like the go but never finish, right? They're like excited by new things,
Hmm.
but some of us, like I myself, am more of the analytical. I need to get kicked in the ass in order to start.
Hmm.
But you say that?
I started off with no. I've always been
Oh,
analytical.
okay. Yeah.
But I learned that I sometimes would waste too much time just trying to figure out what the right method or plan is. So it's a mix of both. I think it's a fine balance of both. But 100%, I paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend would say, "Hey, you want to go on this trip? Let's go to Hawaii or something." I'll look up 5 different itineraries, look up all the like reviews of every restaurant
Mm.
and so on and so forth. Try to build the perfect itinerary. But sometimes just get the plane ticket,
Yeah.
pick one restaurant,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. Also, now you can just type into AI, be like, "Hey, just
Yeah,
plan out a trip.
yeah, it's so
We'll
easy.
adjust it." Yeah.
Yeah.
What is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life, and what did you learn from it?
I think it was that ego check when I was in college, thinking I could do it all, and everybody else at that time essentially was graduating, getting a job, getting married. And here I am still working a server job, trying to pay off the debt that I incurred because I dropped out of my classes. Definitely regret that. But I also, at the same time, I learned a lot from it, right? I said, hey, yeah, the world moves on, but you can do something about it. It's not the end. I've definitely had this is the end thoughts, but um, same thing. Don't let those things discourage you. Um, own up to it, right? Those are your own faults, and you had to learn it the hard way. I hope that you don't have to learn it the hard way. I hope that everybody can have a journal or be able to assess themselves to make those quick changes that they need to. But sometimes you just gotta learn it the hard way.
Yeah. That's what I've learned talking to so many people is sometimes you have to touch the hot stove,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because our parents, our friends
Mhm.
will always say, "Hey, don't touch that stove," and you're like, "Yeah, sure," and then you touch it, like, "Okay, now I know what you mean." Like that sucked. Um, if you could give your younger self advice, what would it be? I know we've touched on a lot of things. You've
Mhm.
gave a lot of good insights, but anything else we haven't touched on that you give your younger self advice?
Invest in Bitcoin. I don't
Yeah.
know. um, I think it would be learn to enjoy even the most mundane things in life because every year so many things are changing. Your views, your aspirations, they're always changing.
Mhm.
And because they fly by so quickly, you just don't get the chance to really value that precious moment. It's lost. Our 20s are gone. Our
Mhm.
30s,
Mhm.
oh man,
They're going. Yeah.
they're going.
Yeah.
So enjoy even the smallest things, even though it seems so difficult at the time. I think you can find the joy out of everything.
Do you have any examples of some of the small
I
things?
can't think of one right
Yeah.
now, but I think just talking to your parents.
Mm.
I can't speak for everyone because I know everyone has different levels of kind of say, relationships, right? But it was in my last relationship where we went out for New Year's, great party, and next day you call up all your family friends, Happy New Year's. She gets a call saying that her dad passed away, and in that moment, it was just like, oh my goodness, I don't call my mom and dad enough to say I just love them. Thank you for everything they did. Because right now, if I call my mom, she'd be like, "What are you doing there?"
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to you right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, enjoy those moments. It's a ticking, clock. Take that call. Listen to your mom.
Mhm.
Say what's up.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like if there's any sort of takeaway for you guys listening, is that sort of thing because I do a yearly review on my blog every year, and I look back on all the highlights of my year just to kind of recap, like, oh, what was the highlights of 2025? And a lot of the points that I mentioned were my favorite were the ones where I'm like literally just sitting around a room
Mm-hmm.
talking with my family or my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I went home to visit family in NorCal
Mm-hmm.
and then also East Coast, like my mom's side of the family. And I was like, literally, my favorite parts of the trip when we're just sitting around in the living room
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
talking, because as we live on our own and we don't see our parents or our family a lot, those moments, I'm like, yeah, these are like the
Mm-hmm.
moments where they're mundane-ish or they don't seem important. But I'm like, no, actually, this was the most fun,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you cut out the noise of work and friends and all
Right.
that stuff. Uh, it's something to not be taken for granted. So thank you for that. In the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life?
I'm pretty sure I wrote this down. Do you mind if I check?
Go ahead.
No.
Yeah.
It's because I'm in the hot seat, dude.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This one kind of pisses me off.
Yeah.
Current relationship right now, extremely happy, the happiest I could ever be. But she kind of gave me a reality check. She's like, all right, she wants to live this kind of lifestyle. Okay, all right, then I'll make 150K.
Mm-hmm.
Still six figure, a little bit higher. It's like, no, that's broke thoughts. Why aren't you going for 300,
Okay.
500K? Why aren't you going for 800K mil? I said, there's a moment where it's like, well, let's be realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, why am I putting those restrictions on myself? Why am I not doing more? If I can really think about what I did this past month, oh, I definitely could do more. It's always just, why am I putting limits on myself? Yes, have a reality check, but don't put those restraints. And I'm glad she's in my life that can say, no, I believe in you and what you can do. You can do better.
I love that. It's like the magic of thinking big. It's a book
Mm-hmm.
reference, but yeah, totally. I love that. Um, Favorite hot take or something you think most people won't agree with?
I think, hot take, a lot more people are more conservative, but they just don't call it that.
What do you mean by that?
Um, I don't want to take that political view of like, this is my identity. Oh, you're a conservative. I'm a liberal. No, I think there's certain values that people seem to say they don't realize how important it is to them. And then, wow, it's actually very conservative in my view. And I think about family, freedom, and let's say the things you built. When we're in our younger teens and we don't own anything and our parents are there to mainly provide everything for us, all we have is our freedom of thought and freedom of to do whatever we want, especially living in Southern California. So of course, like F the government, whatever. But as soon as as soon as you own a property, as soon as you have a kid,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you build a business,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly stability, safe environment, safe schools, right? Stability becomes a key factor, and you start valuing things outside of yourself, right? So again, I think maybe it's just for the people that are older, but
Yeah.
more people are conservative.
Yeah. No, I love that a lot. And we did talk about this on Ronnie's episode, the episode right before this one. I'll link it.
Mm-hmm.
But conservative versus like progressive. And maybe this isn't necessarily political, maybe it is, but it's I have the belief that the older we get, our brains are more wired to be conservative, and not in the extreme political sense, but more of like we understand patterns.
Mm-hmm.
We're more traditional or conservative because that's how we go through life in our 30 plus years of, okay, this is how the world works. And now my brain is now solidifying towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when there's a deviation in that, it doesn't feel right to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so biologically, I think that we generally get more conservative as we get older. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not a bad thing. Like
Yeah, it's not.
my grandparents are super conservative. And that's why there is a clear age gap divide between, like, in politics, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
progressive versus conservative. Like obviously it's like, why is it a lot of young people versus a lot of old people? But
Yeah.
I would say you can't discount the fact that it is a biological thing, and that
Mm-hmm.
what Ronnie said, what you're saying, what I'm saying, like I agree too. Like, yeah, I think the older I get, the more money I make, the more stuff I have, the more responsibility and if my family grows and stuff, yeah, I probably am more quote unquote conservative
Yeah.
in that sense.
I hate to think of it as an identity in the first
Of
place.
course.
Um, why limit yourself to that?
Mm,
There are good views on both
of
sides.
course.
There are bad views on both sides.
Of
Right?
course.
You have extremists on both ends. I think the best identity to have is trying to what's the best of both worlds? How do we meet in the middle?
Mm,
Have that conversation.
I like that. Okay. Favorite recent purchase in the $50 to $100 range that has impacted your life the most in the last 6 months? We can change any parameters, but
Yeah.
generally cheap purchase.
This is, I guess, a caveat because I'm wearing this right now. It's the Aura ring.
Mm.
I'm not sponsored.
Yeah.
But
One of my guests, he worked for Aura for a long time, and so he was a big proponent of Aura. He's
Mhm.
like, yeah, I know how it works, and it's health tech.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's definitely not under 50 or 100.
right.
But if you have or if you can afford the Amex Platinum,
Yeah.
they have a promo where they give you $200 off.
Oh,
So they'll do also seasonal promos on the website itself. $150 off
yeah,
for like Christmas. That's when I got it.
yeah.
Plus the $200 off, I essentially got this for $50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is the price range like a few hundred?
Say
For
300.
300?
Yeah. And it could go higher based on like
The
rose
model
gold,
or whatever. Yeah.
titanium.
Sure.
Whatever. Yeah.
What do you like about Aura Ring?
I didn't really believe in stats.
Like tracking your health metrics?
Tracking your health. Yeah.
Mhm.
It didn't make sense. Like you should just feel what your body feels. I learned it more when I was running and keeping track of what my heart rate is and what my mileage was. I didn't realize how much factoring goes into it to make the adjustments, right? And Aura Ring, one of the things it does is detects also your stress levels and how well you sleep.
Mm.
I'll give you those numbers. And you get to hone in on the range, the time range that from 2 to 3 p.m., you're pretty stressed. It's like, what happened at 2 to 3 p.m.?
Yeah.
And it makes you look back like, oh, this person or this situation
Yeah.
stressed me out. And maybe it's the way I handle it. Why didn't I speak about it? What did I do about it? Right. So it hones in on the specific time and place. I think that's a good way.
Do you know how they track stress? Like, what is that? What is that metric for that? Your heart rate just goes
I think
up?
it's the heart rate mainly.
Okay.
And then I don't know if it's the oxygen levels.
But like,
I'm
isn't
still
workout
learning.
stress or no?
I think it's just a different metric. Again,
Okay,
I'm
so
not
you
an
don't-
expert.
yeah,
You're
you
gonna
don't
have to talk to your friend.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can ask you about that.
But as for me, it's just the time and place.
Gotcha.
And why was my sleep more efficient, or why was I more rested this night compared to the other night? It makes you kind of look back. What was the food I ate, or what was the dreams I was having? What was happening in the day? So it kind of just helps you become more efficient, more streamlined with how am I getting the most optimal recovery? I think that's what it is.
Gotcha.
Optimal recovery.
I like that. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm more sold on it now. So
Yeah.
thank you. All right. We'll wind to a close if you don't have any other final thoughts. But for ending questions, we always start with gratitude. Shout out to my mom. What are you grateful for, John?
I'm grateful for the friends that try to maintain a connection. And what I mean by that is you just have so limited time. You're already dealing with so much. But even the gesture of, hey, how you doing? And you don't talk for like 3 months. Hey, we're staying connected. So the friends that do try to maintain that relationship, I appreciate. Friends, family, and my girl.
Of course. I love it. I forgot to mention this at the very beginning, but I have a very endearing nickname for John. It's Harold, because if you guys don't know, John shares a name with the actor who plays Harold in Harold and Kumar. So in my head, I'm like, I say John, but my head is like, Harold, what do you mean? So, but anyways, as an aside, cool. Do you have a final ask from the audience or any final takeaways you'd like them to have from this conversation?
Not really. I think
Just
we still
rewind
know.
it. This was a great episode.
He'll
Just
put in some
there's a lot of
short clips.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, where can we find you if people want to see what you're up to or connect or check out? Or if not, that's totally fine, but where can they find you if they want to see?
My handle should be up there. I do more stories than posts because I don't have the time and energy to put it into it because I realized there's other things, again, I prioritize at the moment.
Yeah.
And trying to share to the world what I'm doing is not important right now.
Cool. Nice. We'll link that. His stuff is linked anyways. All right. Harold, John, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this conversation.
Absolute honor.
Yeah, it rejuvenated my soul, and I love hearing like other I see you as like a high performer because of your journey and what you do. So I respect you as well. And so this is definitely a favorite episode of mine. So I appreciate that. And so let me go into my final sign off for the audience. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Leave John love in the comments below. He'll probably see it. And reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself. And remember that you can always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.